missed it last night, I am Lady Lane. You can go on the YouTube channel and see all about me. I gave my little life history. So today what I want to do is tell you a little story, and then I'm just going to make this short and sweet for you. There were 5 ladies that were kind of got saved in the same time frame. It's 5 ladies, and they hung out a lot, and one of the ladies was just got saved, and she would I guess she was taking God seriously, or her life seriously at that moment, and she was reading and praying and studying, and there happened to be one gentleman in the group. So it was 5 ladies and 1 guy. And of course, these ladies being single and wanting a man of God, or actually, at least 2 of the ladies wasn't exactly single, but they wasn't happily married and didn't really know where God was taking them because their husbands were not saved. And so she you guys are having problems hearing me? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me? Well, 2 of the ladies wasn't saved, and okay, so 2 of the ladies was saved, I'm sorry, and they were married, but just not happily married. And then there was 2 that was single, and then there was 1 that was just saved, and she also was single. They all had children, and they were believing God for a mate. Okay, all except the one that was just saved, because she had just gotten saved, got out of a relationship, and again, like I said, she was taking her life seriously at the moment because she had a child that was just born, and she was trying to just make a life better for her and her child. And again, there was 1 gentleman in the whole group, and they would go and hang out and like go out to eat. They would discuss God and everything like that. So of course, naturally, they're attracted to this man of God that's in their group. And and the girl that was just saved, when they would go out, they would be like, oh, come on, you need to go out and have some fun. You know, being saved doesn't mean that you have to not have fun, that you have to sit in your house or sit in your room or whatever it is and not have fun. But she continued to stay home. She was studying and praying, and she did consult God one day and asked God if she was ever going to get married. And during her prayer time, God gave her a sign to let her know that she was going to get married. And again, as I say, they wasn't literally like throwing themselves at that one guy, but they all were like laughing and playing and saying, oh, I'm going to marry such and such and such and such, or whatever the case may be, that they were just again, just not really throwing themselves at them noticeably, but everybody knew that each other, they were like in competition for this one guy. And what happened was, the young lady that was about her father's business, she was just reading and praying and doing whatever it is that she needed to do to get herself in a place and not only with God but in life. And the one gentleman that was there found that attracting. She knew what she wanted, She was going after it, and she wasn't chasing him. So later on, maybe 2 years later, the gentleman proposed to the young lady that hadn't been too long gotten saved. So the whole point that I was making with the story is, if you're about your Father's business, ladies, seek God and his righteousness, and everything else will be added unto you. So with that being said, with us dating to marry, the Bible says that when a man finds a wife, he finds a good thing and obtain favor from the Lord. So you don't need to go out and chase after a man, seek after a man. It is your duty to know where you are, who you are in God, and then let everything else come to you. You can easily just chase after someone because of their looks, or because you think they're a man of God or a woman of God, and that may not be the man for you. So just know that. Of course, we're going to go, I just want to kind of touch on 3 things here. And one of them is to know that when you're dating, when you know that you're ready for dating, is make sure that you're bearing fruit. Before you even think about dating, before you even think about getting yourself out there, make sure you're bearing fruit. God has given everyone a specific job to do in life, has given them a specific destination. And so you should be going towards that goal or that destination and not running after a man, okay? You need to make sure that you're bearing fruit. And also, when you're dating, you need to make sure that you are not unequally yoked. Okay, so ladies, if you believe in Jesus Christ, your man or the one that you're seeking, to date should be living for Christ as well. Of course, I do know there are some exceptions, especially if you're already married before you get saved. And so the Bible says that a just wife can save her unjust husband. And I also believe that to be true, even if you're dating, but you have to know for sure that this is from God. I can tell you this. I say, if everybody in your life is telling you, oh no, he is not for you, you shouldn't date him, you probably shouldn't date him, honey, run. Okay, run. No, I'm just kidding. But what you should do is just, make sure that when you're in that dating season, there is a time and a place for everything. And when you're in that dating season, when God say, okay, when you're in that dating season, I would definitely say you want to keep it to yourself. And you only want to tell those, just a few people, okay? You want to tell those that you think is close in the spirit, those that are your prayer partner. You don't want to tell everybody. 2 or 3 is it. Those that are unbiased, those that can see you and know who you are spiritually as well as naturally. Because the reason why I say this is because if you start telling too many people, there will be a lot of voices. And so when you go to pray, you won't be able to distinguish the difference between everybody's opinion and God. So what you want to do is just make sure that you have as less voices in your spirit, man, when you're going to God to consult God. Because ultimately, the reason why we're dating is to see if we're compatible with whomever we need to marry. Okay? It's all about getting to the marriage. It's not dating because you want to have fun or have sexual relationships, or you just don't want to be alone. If that's the case, then you need to just be seeing and being friends with somebody. You don't date. There's a difference between seeing someone and actually dating. And like I said, the whole purpose of dating is to be able to get into that place where God says, yes, this is who you need to marry. You've grown enough to know them spiritually as well as naturally. Know that it's not always love, like in love, because when God created Adam and Eve, he created Eve to be a helpmate for Adam, because the job that he had for Adam, he couldn't do it alone. And that's why I said make sure that you're bearing fruit whenever it comes to you dating, because you want to already know your place and your role and who you are before you get married. And you want to make sure that whatever it is that you're doing aligns up with whatever he's doing, so that you can help push him or he's helping pushing you, depending on what God has for the both of you. I would say, a lot of people say dating, how long should we date? There isn't really a time frame for that, but what I would say is you don't want to date too long, because what happens is you'll put yourself, you'll get too emotionally involved, and God has not said yes, and a lot of times God is telling you no, and because you're so emotionally attached that it's hard for you to let it go. And that's why sometimes we enter these marriages that we shouldn't be in from the beginning. But you don't want to date too long. I say, for me, just put the number on it, no longer than 2 years. I think by 2 years you should know someone well enough to know whether or not you're going to marry them. And during that dating time, you don't want to put yourself in a situation that will compromise your integrity. You don't want to put yourself in a place where you guys are going out and you're alone and things start happening when you're alone, no one can see you. And not only that, even if nothing happens, you don't want your good to be evil spoken of people saying, man, they got to be, because they're always going to Motel 6 or whatever it is that you're doing. And you don't want your good to be evil spoken of. And of course, you want to keep the dating pure and holy. So the way I picture it is like this, or a way that I can tell you is, if you won't do it to your mama and your daddy, you shouldn't be doing it. If you ain't gonna kiss your mama like that, if you're not gonna kiss your daddy like that, you should not be doing it. Okay? If you're not gonna, of course, there are things that you have to talk about. There are conversations that you do need to have prior to getting married, and I will make a video on that if you guys would like, about some questions or things you need to discuss before getting married. But yeah, you don't want to, I know we want to taste the water before we buy it or whatever, but the thing is, why would a man buy the milk when they can have the cow for free? You have to leave something for them to want. You can't just give them everything, give them your all. Your body is the temple of the Holy Ghost. So you don't want to be disrespectful in God's sight, is what I'm gonna say. I don't know who's watching this and whose children may or may not be watching this, but when you're dating, make sure that you are keeping it pure, you are keeping it holy. Again, because you don't want to put yourself in a situation to where your emotions and your hormones get the best of you, and you taint the marriage or the relationship. And let me see. I think we're just about done. And then the last thing is this. I know I talked about the when you're in that dating season. So while you're waiting, or when God put you in that dating season, ladies, while you're waiting, go ahead and get yourself prepared for your wifely duties, for your whatever comes after the marriage. There are things that is attached to being married. I would suggest that you read 1 Corinthians. You want to start with the 6th chapter and roll on over to the 7th chapter. Excuse me. And it talks about marriage, and it talks about having sexual immortality, which I'll talk about that tomorrow. But again, 1 Corinthians chapter 6, chapter 7, definitely chapter 7 goes into the marital status. And you need to start fulfilling those roles now. Start practicing those roles while you're in that dating season. I'm not saying with him, but with yourself, within yourself, that you come home, you get used to coming home, cleaning up, cooking, and all of that, or whatever it is that your life is for that particular, your mindset as far as how marriage is going to go. If you think that your spouse is going to be one that y'all go out a lot, then I guess you could, but what you want to do is come home and start practicing and cooking, because okay, you know, if a man come home, he gonna want something to eat. And listen, I know I'm probably getting myself in trouble right now with my husband saying all of this, because I do not live up to that all the time. But again, those are some of the things that you need to discuss before getting married, so you both will know what it is that you guys are expecting from each other. But God does have a lineup of how things should go. And you want to make sure that you know this and know your role, not because of the man, but because when you're in this state, when God puts you in that role, when God puts you in that position, you want to make sure that you're qualified for it, if that makes sense. And of course, I know that everybody doesn't get married. Paul says that it's better for you not to be married. But if you do get married because you cannot control yourself, that you need to make sure that you know who you are and your role. And moms and dads, it is okay if they choose not to marry, okay? They can just focus on the things that God has for them without any interruptions or disruptions, because you know when marriage comes, you have to consider your spouse, and then you have to consider the children if they come along, when it comes to doing the things of God, when he says go places. So yeah, I think that is about it, ladies and gentlemen. Again, you want to make sure that the whole focus of dating, the whole reason of dating is for you to marry. That's the whole point of dating. If you're not dating to marry, then there is no point in marrying. If you know whoever you're dating has no intentions of marrying ever in their life, or does not, whatever it is that their background is, or whatever it is that they plan for their future, does not line up with the future that you have, that God has given you, the purpose that God has given you, that's a telltale sign there that that man or that woman is not for you. If you want children and that man don't want it, or if you want children and that woman don't want it, 9 times out of 10, that's probably not the person for you, and you can move on. So again, it's your compatibility to be able to fulfill the destiny that God has created for you and for that your significant other. So that's the whole point of dating. And then while you're dating, you want to make sure that it is pure. Again, one way to look at that is if you don't want your mom, if you won't do it to your mom or your dad, or if it's not something that you'll be proud of to someone that you really, really respect, then you don't want to be doing it with that particular person. And make sure that you're bearing fruit and that you're already practicing that role for whether you're the male or the female. Make sure that you're practicing that role as the husband or the wife. And your
This could be good for me. Lately I was feeling like I need a purpose. But when you talk to me, give me the impression that I won't scratch your surface. And I could walk for days, searching for your praise. But is it even